The Lower East Side's role in welcoming immigrants didn't end. It continued in the years after World War II. This is a museum of immigration. We tell the story of how Americans came to be a people, and that's a process that continues.
The 103 exhibit will tell the stories of 3 individual families, but more broadly, it's going to tell the story of immigration to New York in the mid-20th century. We've always enjoyed being able to tell the stories of real people, and we found that that connects with visitors. What was limiting us at 97 Orchard was that in 1935, it closed to residents. 103 allows us to extend our narrative and be able to talk about more recent ways of immigrants with the same techniques we've done before.
In December 1945, President Truman signed an emergency declaration that allowed 1,000 survivors of the death camps into the United States. 2 of those 1,000 people wound up living here, right in this spot.
In the afternoon, we would walk along Orchard Street. We went to the Essex Street Market. We would buy food in there. It smelled of fish, it smelled of dirt, and it smelled beautiful to me.
We're looking forward to stitching together these stories through the perspective of the children of the families. Because often the children are extending beyond the neighborhood, beyond the household, and are bringing back some of the broader trends in New York.
Just walking around looking at places, bringing back a lot of memories.
I think what's different about the Lower East Side is that the Puerto Rican migrants were living with Eastern Europeans, Jews, African Americans in really kind of close proximities.
My mother, I can't say she spoke English, but if she did some shopping around here, you didn't have to speak English. You want a dozen eggs, you point out the eggs, this is the eggs I want.
What do you remember about the apartment?
I was a super, you know that? I was aware of everything. They were all Jewish families, and then people started moving out. As they move out, Chinese started moving in, and they were all nice people.
My mother came to the United States in 1965. She worked in a factory. She was a seamstress. The work of a seamstress was so hard, so labor intensive. She sacrificed for us how much she worked so that we could be able to have money later on to go to college.
I think the Tenement Museum, the story they tell of the Chinese immigrants in this community is very different than most of the museums across the United States. Because it talks about working people's lives and the everyday hardships and sometimes the everyday successes that people have. And I think that's really important.
Contemporary immigration has transformed this city. Right now, New York has about 3 million immigrants who are 37% of the population. So it's not just enough to look to the past, but also to understand what's happening today.
I am very passionate about the museum, in part because of the way the story is told. The museum really is able to bring history alive and involves all the visitors in the telling of the story.
There's a larger story here, and it's the story of how the United States once again embraced an inclusive sense of who we are as a people. Our future lies in our ability to imagine ourselves as a nation that draws the world's ambitious, that allows them to build lives and communities, and indeed to build a nation in this country.